COOJ Mental Health Foundation, in fact we're completing 25 years this year. It was started when I was still a student, and I realized at that time that psychiatry was limited to basically biological treatments, and I felt that there was much more to life and to helping people who have issues with mental health beyond the perspective of medication. And there was, I think at that time, there was nothing in the space of rehabilitation. And that's when the idea came up in my mind, and I met our foundress, and together we decided that we needed to enter into the space of rehabilitating people with psychiatric illness. And with that aim, we started in the year 2000.
So, Psychiatric Society of Goa is an organization which was formed, as to create awareness in community, conduct programs, activities. So now we have got members. We have got 100 plus members in the Psychiatric Society of Goa. We are in the executive committee of that. आणि आम्ही एवरी इयर हाच्या थ्रू आमचे एक एज्युकेशनल एक्टिविटीज सुरू आसता आमच्यो, वेरेन वी होल्ड मेनी लायक conferences or CMEs we call it, where many doctors come in and we call speakers from outside to like continuously update our knowledge in psychiatry. हे आमच्या डॉक्टर्सां खातीर. पूण हाज्या सोडून आमी आनी कितें करता म्हणल्यार वी डू हॅव एक्टिविटीज फॉर मेंटल हेल्थ वीक. आमी सुसायड प्रिव्हेन्शनाची एक्टिविटीज करता, रेडिओ टॉक्स, आर्टिकल्स इन द न्यूज पेपर्स, कम्युनिटी प्रोग्राम्स लायक गोईंग एंड गिविंग टॉक्स इन द स्कूल्स, plus some dementia screening we did this year. So different activities which we conduct for the whole year, community awareness. So basically आमचो होच हेतू आसा की community awareness through our organization.
I was aware about how the psychiatrists don't necessarily work alone. They work with a team of counselors who are able to kind of provide much more than just a consultation or only medications. So that's when I decided to start Antarman. Antarman is a Sanskrit word which basically means inner mind, or man is something which is often confused in our language, as in the sense sometimes it means emotional core, which is man, or which in English you say heart. In my heart I feel that way. Or it sometimes also means mind. So the Antarman seems to describe that.
Personally, I think it's so important. I mean, as I just mentioned, if you do not understand your mental health, you're losing out so much on life, on your productivity, you know. And I've learned this over a period of time, and you've seen it that not every person, like see, now we've grown older, we've gone for school reunions and college reunions, and then when you look back and you see not everyone like who was a topper or gold medalist is successful in life. And then you'll find the ones who are just scraping by, like, you know, they are doing extremely well. So there's something beyond just intellect, you know, that has made people successful or not successful, you know. It is the resilience, the capacity, your emotional vulnerabilities, your emotional strength. You know, there are people who are intelligent, bright, they are successful. They're not very successful because emotionally they fly off the handle. Small things, they just tip off, you know. So I think mental health, my perspective, is very important, number one. Number two, it is important for you to understand yourself. And most people, I'll tell you today, are still struggling or are not able to have their own sense of identity, and because they don't have a sense of identity, they easily move with the herd, is because they don't know who they are. And I think it's time for everyone to understand what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, what are the things that you can change about yourself and what you cannot change about yourself. And when you have this kind of thing in perspective, I think you develop a kind of a confidence that then you can stand tall by yourself. You do not have to fuse with someone else's goals in life. So just because somebody else wants X, Y, Z to make them feel happy, you don't need it. No? Maybe you get happiness from something else. So you're very content. A sense of contentment comes in.
The way I said, I look at mental health very म्हणजे म्हाका खूब इम्पॉर्टंट दिसता मेंटल हेल्थ एज मच एज फिजिकल हेल्थ, बिकॉज फिजिकल हेल्थ कितलीय बरी आसूं आमचे कडेन इतले पेशंट येतात, देर इज अ सर्टन term called as hypochondriasis, somatic illness symptom, anxiety, like illness anxiety disorder. So that basically is nothing but stress झालो, okay, stress झालो जाल्यार एक bodily symptoms सुरू जातात. Okay, it can cause something as chronic pain disorder or irritable bowel syndrome or lot of different physical ailments also, which nobody, like, you know, first to go, like, start with, a person will not know that this is something got to do with the stress or the mental health. They will go to different doctors, show कांयच ना, सगळे टेस्ट केले पण तातूंत कांय येवंक ना. But then you come to know it is because of the mental health issues, right? So what I feel is that mental health is as important as physical health. Okay, only thing is that physical health, we know physically what we are doing. Mental wellness also is very important, like just kind of sometimes just rebound, like, you know, just kind of stopping what you're doing and just take a break. So taking a pause is very important. Taking a break from whatever you're doing, otherwise burnout is very easy. Okay, meeting your friends, talking to your loved ones, venting out. Okay, whatever is the issue, just vent out. So all these things are important. Mindfulness, okay, being in the moment. So these things are like mental wellness things, like, which are to be done. The way we do exercise for physical wellness, these are important these are the exercises for the mental wellness.
How do I look at mental health? That's very interesting, and thanks for asking that question, because people often confuse mental health and mental health problems. So mental health is basically an ability to be able to live a productive, satisfying life.
So that way I say that doing these community services, okay, we do that. We also, last year we held certain poster competitions and even the street plays which the nursing students and students from Goemkar college had done, which also gave a lot of, we got a good response. We had done it in the market area, we did in the on the bus stand, so it was a very good response. So that is how I think we are a small society, but we are all the psychiatrists in the society, but we will need help from the other organizations, other people. It'd be really nice to collaborate also with the other organizations, because here we are to just spread awareness basically, because we don't make any profits or anything. It's just a community service what we do.
Absolutely, because see, first of all, it's the barrier of stigma. So if that barrier is removed, the person can seek help faster. The person will have no inhibitions of getting services, because he will not have it in his mind what people are thinking about him. Number one. Number two is, we know that when we look at the rehabilitation process, we need the support of the community. How? So suppose someone has certain skills, okay? If someone else from the community can pitch in to help him in developing those skills. Like, for instance, now as part of our program, we have started off a bakery, okay? Now, we know that we have two kinds of people that come for our rehab program. One that will come to our center physically, but a lot of people, because of their illness per se, and maybe because of the systems, the family systems or family resources, they are unable to travel to our center. So we need them. Maybe suppose I want this X person in the community who is possibly good in maybe say mixing the cake batter. If someone else, suppose there's a bakery in the community, if that bakery can help this person by giving him some work at home, maybe he can do the cutting of the fruits, for making a fruit cake, cut the fruits at home, teach him how to cut the fruits at home and then use those fruits in his bakery. So that way you can include people, support, kind of a self-engaging, self-supportive community that kind of provides for everyone that is within that. Like I remember when, I know somebody, she's a senior, and she's very good at making pickles and jams. She's around 88 years old. She lives alone and she can make these jams. So we have put somebody else who has a mental health need with her, and together they create jams. Yeah. So how the resources within the community can be used to support other people who are having some kind of a distress. So it's all in the mindset. to believe that every person, irrespective of his capacity and capabilities, can contribute. Number one. The second thing is how to utilize that contribution is important. So it's basically putting two people together, putting people, and allowing them that space to grow in a healthy way. Also, we need the community. Now we have this bakery. So we need people from the community to support this bakery, and not support it only because they feel bad for our people. No, but because the products are good. And I invite you also to taste and to order from our bakery because the products are delicious.
Society persona, we are all a group of doctors. We all are doing our practice and we are there in the community to help. Society per se is for the community services basically. So as a society, we are targeting community. Okay, like I said, like recently we did dementia screening. We targeted elderly population, like some elderly population in one area. So this is one area which we targeted. We would like to target more such areas and more such different age groups basically. School programs or elderly programs or corporate programs. We need to do all of this. So this is something which we are looking forward to.
Interesting, Anna. So yes, there is a lot of stigma, and there is reason for stigma. It is probably because mental health, in terms of medicine, we call it medicine. When I mean in the practice of medicine, mental health or mental issues considered the last frontier, because we have really not understood it completely yet. Where in a generation of today's medical practitioners, where we are looking at kidney transplant, liver transplant, even heart transplant, and we have got such advanced treatment options, robotic surgery and all is happening, but mental health still remains very poorly understood. And that is because the workings of the mind is pretty complex. Like whether I would have an abscess in my leg or an infection in my kidney is not dependent on how my relationship is with my friend or with my wife. That because it doesn't happen, that those are organs. But in case of mental issues, it's pretty complex. It could be about my workload, it could be about how my relationships are with my support network, whether I'm supported or not, and even as to how my formative years were. So this is very gradually being unraveled, and we have really not understood. And things which are not understood often have stigma or myth or magic kind of associated with that. And that is why, that's I'm saying, when you have to look at those, you have to look at it from that concept. Now, about institutions, there is a stereotypical image about those mental health institutes. To be fair, for a long time, not nice things were happening.
So again, it comes from the understanding of mental illnesses, number one. The second thing, it comes from initially mental illness were always there, but it was always considered when it was really severe that people had a mental health issue. Today we are learning that we can catch things on at a milder state. We do not have to wait till it actually becomes severe for it to be recognized as an illness. So that is one thing. We can catch things earlier. So when they say in our generation it was not there, it's not fully true. It was just that it was not caught earlier. It was not diagnosed earlier. It was always there. Many health issues, mental health issues were brushed under the carpet. And people probably did not go to mental health professionals for help, but they took them to probably spiritual leaders for help. So again, the understanding of mental health, the same symptoms might have been looked as a spiritual problem in the past, right? Not really as a health issue.
What I mean by the challenges is that, and why I said day to day, is that nobody's life is perfect and should not be also. And when we are going about doing our activities, whether a student is studying or whether a person is working, And whenever we're doing this, there are some times when we face difficulties. We often call them in our language adversities. We see adversities, and when somebody is able to navigate that properly and without causing any distress, then we say good mental health. And so, what I'm also implying here is that stress and challenge is part of our regular life.
I don't know how much raising awareness we will succeed in that generation. Because if you have not experienced anything, it is difficult for you to imagine. They haven't experienced because they were not exposed to so much of screen. They were not exposed to so much of artificial world. Okay, they had closer connects. WhatsApp was not an attempt to separate them and just be on a message. They used to call up or not call. Before the phones, they used to meet and they used to greet. Right, so meeting was very often. Most importantly, there were joint families which were there, okay, which was giving a lot of respite and support. And nobody had vehicles, nobody had machines, nobody had things to do. So everything was being done, and the whole day was literally busy. आणि सगळं दिसभराची कामां करून मनशा कशी न्हीद पडटाली. आता झालं अशें की फॉर एवरीथिंग आमच्याकडे मशिनां आसा, गाडयो आसा. सो बॉडीली मुवमेंट जो म्हणटा और बॉडी थकप जी म्हणटा ती हार्डली जाता आमची. आणि फॉर दॅट आम्ही आर्टिफिशियल एक्सरसाइज करपाक जिमान वतात. ओके, हे पयलीं करचें पडनाशिल्लें बिकॉज बाकीच्यो बायलो सगळ्यो म्हणजे एक्सरसाइज. आणि आता जी एक्सरसाइज सांगतात जिमान सुद्दां, इवन थिंग्स लायक पिलाटेस और योगा, सम पोजिशन जस्ट लायक वॉट द लेडीज इज टू वर्क, लायक कपडे धुवपाचे और ते म्हणजे तो रगडो हे करपाचे. सो ऑल दीस थिंग्स तेन्ना जाताले, आतां जायना. आणि आतां ह्या सगळ्यां खातीर वी हॅव टू डू दी आर्टिफिशियल वे ऑफ ब्रिंगिंग इन हॅपीनेस इन आवर लायफ, रायट. सो दॅट जनरेशन, very difficult for them to understand unless they have that emotional quotient to understand basically, because they have not seen that.
When the workload or the stresses are overwhelming, that's when it starts causing mental health problems. That's when it can cause stress, that's when it can cause sleep disturbance, that's when it can cause issues what we call burnout and other issues. Now that said, like how there are certain health problems which people will get irrespective of whether they're having a good or not so good life. Take an example, some people get diabetes. Not everybody who gets diabetes gets it because of poor lifestyle. Poor lifestyle definitely contributes to it, but there are certain people who are genetically destined to get it. There are a lot of people who would get breathing problems, some people get asthma. So I said there are many problems which one would get anyways. Similarly, mental illnesses are not always because you had a poor growing up experience, or because you are in work stress, or because you are in difficulty. There are certain people who would anyways get this. It is a bit like genetic. Some problem or other, a percentage of the population always gets it. Again, I'm switching back and forth between giving examples about physical illnesses and mental illnesses. The reason I'm giving, just to kind of most people understand it better. If there is a physical health problem somebody has got, and if we do certain activities like exercise or better breathing techniques, that will help, or eat better, that would help an existing physical health problem be better managed. Exactly the same thing if a person has got mental health problems or mental illnesses, but if you have got good discipline or good lifestyle choices, sleep on time, do not indulge in addictive substance use, do not stress yourself, have better organization skills, have a better values or better optimism, they will also help in being able to control your mental health problems.
Yeah, so I think it's already happening. I think it's already happening, because if you look at the movies that you're talking about, they were movies of the 80s and 90s, But if you come more, towards the newer in this last decade or so, I think there's a huge shift in how mental health, mental illnesses, the mental health professionals and the mental health institutions are being portrayed. I think that shift has already happened, and it's very important that it remains that way, because as you mentioned, the portrayals have had this negative impact on the mindset of people, and therefore that was one of the barriers why people would actually not come in for help, because they didn't want to be portrayed as people who were mad. But again, that mad word came because they did not understand that mental health is a very integral part of our being, and it's a very significant, important part, and we need to work on that. I mean, you can have the best physique, you can be a Miss Universe, but if your mind is not working, what's the point?
One thing is that psychiatric issues are real. Mental health is very important. Okay? कोणाक जर इश्यूज आसात, हांव कितें सांगता की सगळ्यांक सांगत भोंवनाकात. इट्स ओके. But you must have that one friend or at least someone from the family whom you can talk to clearly, whom you can vent out and tell everything what is happening in your mind or your thoughts, your perceptions, what you think about life basically. Sometimes you might be just correct. Sometimes there might be something which needs to be looked into. At that time, probably that one friend or one family member might just help you understand, okay, if something is wrong, you need to take help. Because many of our patients also come saying ki, my friend said that something is wrong with me, so I just thought I'll come and check. And really, it happened that they have had issues going on for the last 6-7 years and they were having difficulty in working. So my message is that do not shy away from your feelings and thoughts. Because yes, we do belong to a very judgmental society at times. Okay, sometimes it is difficult for us to talk to our parents also. Because we are scared of judgment from that side also, because that is how we are raised, and I don't blame it because that's how it's been going on through generations. Okay, it's about now that we have got a platform to talk, we should talk.
As a society, we are not very, we're not being brought up to talk about our feelings, our emotions, And when people go to a doctor, it's all about the physical symptoms, getting a headache, getting fever, anga dukta, tummy dukta, they're getting pains, aches, and all, So we're used, very comfortable talking about symptoms in that space. But when it comes to talking about your feelings and emotions, we're not really brought up to talk about that, and hence people do not know how to communicate it. But having said that, there are barriers. Like there are people who come, they've been educated, they know all the signs of depression. But it takes them a long time to actually reach the doctor's office for, one is the stigma, what will people think of me, I have to get married, or my daughter has to get married, if they know I'm having a problem, will I get, so all these kind of issues come up. And then what do I tell the doctor, So tell them, just be yourself, just come. You feel there's something wrong, just come, it's okay. We are used to this. We are used to apprehensions, so we'll make you comfortable, You don't have to come with the problem all listed out in a very clinical way. Just come. You know something is not right. We are there for you,
The voice for Goem.